How to Ignore a House on Fire by Boulware. You'll have to share the sidewalk with Danielle and Chris, who have been a power couple since the 8th grade, and they'll be a few steps ahead of you arguing over homecoming colors. Chris will want red and white to match the football team's new uniform. He'll say it's team spirit. Danielle, on the other hand, will want something more practical. She'll wave her hands and use big words like recalcitrant and incompetent, and your eyes will travel from Chris to Danielle and back again. And you'll think about how, if it was up to you, you would let Danielle choose whatever color she wanted for homecoming. Danielle always looks good. Somewhere in this feud, Chris will look back to you for reassurance. And there's no need to say anything, just nod and take his side. Do the same thing seconds later when Danielle looks back. Fake a chuckle when she scoffs and mouths, "He's so stupid." And your snicker will sound strange and awkward, but oh well. And it won't be long before you'll have to cross on Acre Street and exchange your goodbyes. Danielle will hug you, smelling of an incense that burns your insides. Chris will ask you if you're cool, and not just any cool, but "I know what you're going through" cool. And Danielle will be slightly behind him for support. Try not to look her in the eye. You'll be able to tell from the way she shifts in her chucks whether or not Chris has told her. Say, "Yeah," dap him up and hide your agitation. And when you turn to walk away, keep your shoulders from slumping and your head from dropping. And when you reach the front steps, the Taylor welcome mat will crunch under your feet. Kneel down and grab its folded edge. You'll have to vigorously shake the cobwebs and dust it from beneath it. Roll it up, tuck it under your arm before you put the key in the door. The condo will smell like paint and plywood, but by now you're used to it. Call out names and wait for a reply, even though you know none of your siblings will answer. And place the mat on its side next to the rest of the boxes. And spend your last night at the dining room table with your younger sister Alice and her long division homework. She'll never get the opportunity to turn it in, that's true, but you'll want to ensure she doesn't fall too far behind in her learning. She'll shuffle tiny red and black eraser pieces around, and it'll remind you of the time you found her in the neighbor's backyard. She was by the rosemary bushes, playing with the carcasses of ladybugs. She told you Derek needed them for good luck on his test, and you didn't have the heart to tell her it was the live ones that brought good luck. And telling the truth feels overrated nowadays anyhow. Tap your finger lightly on question number 8 and tell her to stay focused and watch as her eyes circle the room. She'll sniffle. It'll remind you to refill Derek's asthma pump tomorrow while you still have insurance. Alice will look at you after she's finished her stare off with the desk lamp on the floor. Her eyes will be tight, her nose will be flared, her heavy breathing and gapping buck tooth will be a sign she's deep in thought. You'll know she's trying to find a way to ask about the house. Try your best not to tense up if she questions why your room is not periwinkle anymore. Explain to her, for what seems like the 67th time, that the house has to be completely white for the next family. Be honest when she asks you where your family will end up. Tell her that you honestly don't know, but you're sure there will be periwinkle walls in every room. Reach for your school bag and open the only pocket that still zips. Skip over your AP Lit homework and pull out the calculator that you've had since elementary school. Hand it to her. Make your way into the kitchen once Alice completes question 9 without help. The options for dinner are the same as any night recently: cereal or oatmeal. Alice will want cereal because somehow oatmeal reminds her of raisins. Pour a bowl for both Alice and yourself. Eat with her. She will most likely spill some on her plaid skirt, and if she does, take a tattered rag from the counter and toss it at her. Tell her that you don't want anyone thinking of them as being dirty, not even strangers you'll never meet. She'll cut her teeth and wipe wet and soggy O's onto the floor. And when you've seen enough of this, finish cleaning her mess. Tell her to fix her attitude and make the last packet of Quaker Oats. Pour the contents into a styrofoam cup and carry it upstairs. Walk into your brother's room and open it slightly. Poke your head inside. Derek won't even notice. After his first asthma attack, it's rare for him to notice anything anymore beyond his own well-being. It's another annoyance about him that you'll have to overlook. He's 13 now, so once he realizes you're there, you'll also have to apologize for forgetting to knock. It's the 28th of the month, so all of his clothes and dolls, what Eric calls collectibles, should be packed away. Glance at his closet to make sure. Fingers crossed, you'll find nothing but beige walls and brown boxes. Derek will look up from the book he's reading, rubbing his eyes and fix his glasses. It'll be in that exact order. If his eyes are wide and still white, he'll be engulfed in whatever story he's reading. Keep the conversation short, bearing in mind that your presence is a reminder of things to come, and that this alone might bring him to tears. However, if his eyes are red, you'll know he's already brought himself to tears. Tell him to man up. Remind him that Alice is downstairs. Tell him she can hear him whenever he's crying, even if she can't. Derek will bow his head, and if it looks like he's going to break down in front of you, tell him that you have enough money saved up, that everything will be fine. Ask him if he's eaten anything. It doesn't matter how he answers. Place the oatmeal on his nightstand anyway and close his door. Head to your own room, even though it doesn't feel like yours anymore because you haven't slept there in weeks. If you're not spending nights pacing the floor after everyone's asleep, you're sleeping on Alice's bedroom floor since she started complaining about having nightmares. Stand in your doorway. Take what's left of the room. Touch the spaces on the wall where there were once posters of classic movies from the 90s. If you look close enough, you can still see where the tacks have been pushed into the wall. Open the white treasure chest that sits at the foot of your mattress. Your mother told you it used to belong to your grandma, and before that, your great-grandma. And you moved it into your room after your parents stopped coming home. You don't plan on taking it with you. Your hands will tremble when you open it, but ignore that. Pick up the folded blue sticky note with "God never gives us anything more than we can handle," scribbled in purple ink. You found that in your locker a week after your father was hospitalized. The handwriting was unrecognizable, although it's pretty clear to you that it came from Connie. She often tried to invite you to her church lock-ins, vacation Bible schools, and missionary trips. Toss the note in the chest, on top of the unfinished sketch of your mom. Tell yourself you don't have time to finish the sketch. And that's not because you can't remember the way her eyes curve or who inherited what from her. Tell yourself it's Alice who has her cheekbones and Derek who has her jawline. Promise yourself it's not the other way around. In the center of your chest, you will find photographs of Gabby, an old friend you plan to never see again. Gabby was a senior when you were a sophomore, and she's the one who ended it. She said the relationship was too platonic. This was news to you. There were always rumors of her hooking up with Chris, who conveniently carried her picture around shortly after the breakup, but bury the photos at the bottom of the trunk. You'll discover an envelope there, something your mother forgot to take with her. She forgot to take a lot of things with her. Open it and you'll find $283, along with yours and Derek's birth certificates. An idea will come to you. Embrace it. Combining this money with your own will leave you with more than enough to catch a bus down to Florida. You can recall enough of your mother's stories. Every now and then she talked about Miss Amy and other longtime friends and family members in Pensacola. And you don't think that it'll be hard to find them. There's even a chance you'll make it there and find her. Move with haste at this point. Put the envelope in the bag along with a few pairs of outfits, a sketchbook, and a pencil. Close the chest and grab the piece of sketch paper and write, "To Danielle Alston." Put her address on there and stick it to the roof. You won't be able to think of anyone else you'd rather leave your things to. Call for Derek and Alice. Tell them there's been a change of plan. You'll have to leave the boxes and the luggage behind. Tell them to pack a small bag of necessities only. Accept Derek's Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone as a necessity. Take your sketchbook with you. Wake Derek and Alice up at 6 a.m., 2 hours before the sheriff's appointed pickup. This will leave enough time for them to shower and dress and complain. Usher them out the door. After they've quieted down, Derek will peer over his glasses before pulling them up to the bridge of his nose. It will remind you of your father. You'll reconsider things, but just for a moment. Remind Derek that the sheriff is on his way. Tell him to keep up. It won't be long before Alice will get tired of walking and you'll have to carry her on your back. And the rocking of your footsteps will slowly put her to sleep. You'll wonder if Danielle will ever get to the condo or the chest and finally understand. If she and Chris will stop by while strolling home without you one day. You hope they will walk through each room and distinguish it beyond its chipped paint and peeling plywood. To know that it was no longer a home worth its title and forgive you for leaving.